So this week we're gonna talk about something a little bit lighter. We are going to focus on the propeller. Um, so all the idea is to see if we can follow, I would say, the three views, so the side views and the front views. It turns out that on one of the views, I had both, the side view here and also the front, so the front view here that you can see here. So the idea that I will show you is how to mimic that propeller, knowing that I'm not sure it's the good one. The little problem is that the other plan that I had is not exactly the same. As you can see here, the propeller is much thinner in a way on this view than on this other view. But when I'm looking at the actual view here, it's quite impressive. So, well, yeah, I've decided that I would go for this view here. Again, the idea is to show you how to mimic a propeller, not to make sure that I have exactly the proper one for the Pion 22. So how do I do that in that case? Well, that's easy. As I told you, I'm lucky enough to have those two views here with the propeller. So what I will do is that, as usual, I will do uh, these two things here, these two skeletons, okay? As you can see here, so the first one, so I have the height with respect to the axis in a way, and then I have all the little width both on this view, on the YZ view and the XZ view that you can see here that I've used there. And how do I do that? Well, once I have that, I'm defining some spinner sections. So how do I do that? Well, that's a little bit the same thing here. So I'm using the thing that you've seen in order to draw the box. And then normally out of those box, I'm trying to be tangent onto those the views of those box, both on the I would say leading edge and at the trailing edge. As usual, the trailing edge is always kind of flat with a minimum thickness that I allow in a way. Okay, so that's always a little bit the same thing. And then after that, it's just a spline which is defined by, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, because you don't need, to be. We are not building a flying RC plane. We are just trying to have views corresponding to what we want. Okay. So this one is a little bit, I would say, strange in a way, but I will show you like this section here. It's a little bit closer to what we are used to see when we see a propeller blade in a way. So again, to be tangent here, and then those 3 points. Usually I make something like that. And all the idea is to have something which is a little bit thinner here, of course. Usually there is a kind of, convex or concave curve here at the end. So that's something that I'm using here, as you can see here. Okay, and then I'm just going. So usually I think I started from the spinner section 2, okay, and then I have gone down and gone up. So if I do not want to see the skeletons, but I want to see all the views here, and I'm going to look from above, you can see all the evolution of the spinners themselves. Okay, so perhaps I could have been a little bit better, but that's the idea. So that's the 0, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And then the max, which is always a little bit tricky. So that's the one that I've, kind of done in such a way that, again, I'm not too far when I'm looking at, at the max here. Yeah, well, that was in that direction in any case, and then also on that direction here. So again, the side view and the front view were not exactly agreeing on the global dimension of the propeller, but okay, that's what I've done. And then that allows me to build the loft, okay? And what's funny is that the loft kind of replicate a little bit this kind of curve here. So I think that's pretty good. Okay. And also what I've done is that I've extended that using the same thing with a okay, so when I'm looking from the right, I've extended that to go to 0.1 millimeter to have the tolerance that is going down here. Um, and in fact, what I've done is that I've taken that section 0 in order to have a hole. Okay, so I've retaken that section 0 and I've extended everything with a 0.1 millimeter. That was allowing me, no, so here, sorry, that's this one. Okay, I have extended all this with 1 millimeter here. So that's always, the same kind of thing. And I can show you here. With respect to the section 0, and you will see that the section 0 is exactly, at tolerance inside the thing. And that's exactly what I've done, which allows me to create both the whole bottom and the whole top, okay, which will allow me to completely, I would say, direct what's happening inside the spinner, in fact. And in fact, once I've done the cut, I will have a good way of positioning the blades on top and on the bottom. And they will be blocked at the end by the other curve. So that will allow me, in a way, to have something, that will show that will help me position the blades very well. So that's how I've done this propeller on the propeller blades on the spinner. And yes, it was kind of easy. Yeah, a little comment is that yeah, you've seen that. In fact, I've used when I was defining my sections, as usual, I've always doing things with respect to, a given dimension, okay? And here that's everything is with respect of the length, okay? And that allows me to copy paste going from one side to the other and just doing some small evolutions when I'm going from one cut of the propeller blade to another cut of the propeller blade. But now yeah, these techniques because that's the one that I'm using for everything in a way. Yeah, so that's going to be a very, very short session. But yes, the next one will be really on the building of the final model. So it's going to be perhaps a long one, together with a change of designs that I had to do when doing my first build. So Uh, talk to you soon.